Hi guys, hello there, and welcome to a Genshin discussion video. In today's discussion, I want to talk a little bit about the new 5-star that came out yesterday, Mizuki. And boy, there's a lot I need to discuss in regards to her. Now, I don't have a character. I lost my 50-50 last night trying to get her and ended up getting a Constellation Dia. So, all is right in the world. We're losing our 50-50 lead, guys. So, great job. But, yeah, I had tried out her trial run as well as trying her out. Well, just a trial run, really. I also saw people playing her in the Abyss, and I came to a pretty solid conclusion when it comes to her kit and overall importance in terms of teams. So after playing a trial, it became clear that okay, so she is good when it comes to multiple target enemies, which no duh. I mean, when it comes to any Nemo character, mostly those that tend to focus on swole or something like that. Of course, they can want to focus on multiple targets and such. So, knowing that, I was curious about how she would fit in the Abyss, because the Abyss doesn't the current Abyss right now, at least for 12 anyway, doesn't have multiple enemies on each floor. You have three enemies apiece in the first and second chamber of the first floor, and then you have just one, and you only have three group of enemies in the first chamber of the second floor, and that's pretty much it. So I was curious on how she do in terms of single targets, and sadly, she is kind of trash. Now, here's the thing. I don't know if she's trash in the sense of how the biz is currently, or she's just particularly trash because of her own single target damage. But I think it pretty much boils down to she's just not good at single target, units. She does damage, but she's not doing oh, she's shredding your damage like by 200k or something like that. Like she's not doing nothing like that. She's doing enough damage to where like okay, well, it's not painful to look at. Well, it is kind of, but it's not like I don't know how to describe it. Really, is she's just not good with single target units. And it became relatively clear when I saw some people playing her in the Abyss, especially the like second floor in particular, or even the first floor. Really, it was most of the first floor I've seen. It was being mostly highlighted with, and considering, as I said, there's not that many enemies on the Abyss currently, unless you're talking about doing something in like say the 11th floor or something like that. You're not really gonna see her shine in this current Abyss. You're not gonna really see that. Now, of course, the Abyss resets on the 16th. So when it resets in the next few days, they're probably going to make the Abyss tailor made for her, give her a lane line buff for Nemo and whatnot, and we'll probably see how well she can actually be in the Abyss, because most of the Abyss who whenever a new 5-star comes out, they will update the Abyss to be tailor made for that specific character, so you can see what they can truly do. So I feel that until we get to that point, we're not gonna probably see the best out of her. But as it stands now, the only thing this current bitch tells us when it comes to a kid is that she's just not good as a single target unit. I mean, that's just the reality of it, sadly. And and she kind of fits in the mold with other Nemo, with some of Nemo characters where yeah, they can be good in some single target situations, but for you to get the absolute best out of them, you would prefer there being in like group of enemy kind of like territory, and that's where she's at really. Like it would be the equivalent of saying if you was to play say someone like Sayu in the first half of the Abyss, and thinking that she going to like be that hyper carry and whatnot, it would be the same result. It would be the case of, yeah, she's doing damage, but she's not doing enough damage to justify you willingly playing her in the first half or even the second part of the abyss. Like, is that just how it is? Now you're just talking about all the like multiple enemies trying to jump you and whatnot, or let's say two or ruined guards or ruined drakes. Was it ruined drakes I'm thinking about? No, ruined guards, because ruined drakes would be flying. But like you had those kind of situations, and then you're using Sayu with Xingling, Kaya, what have you, and just spinning around like Sonic the Hedgehog. Then it can work because they're grouped up. You're just spinning in a circle, and you're doing a lot of damage that way, and you know it bouncing off each other, off the enemies and whatnot as you swirling. And it would be the same case with Mizuki, where if she hitting against multiple enemies, like hit each other or what have you, then you can really see where her, overall swirl damage really shines at. But you're not going to see that in the current abyss. You're not particularly going to even see that in single target units. Personally, you're not going to really see that. And that's the other thing with her kid too, is that really she is reliant on elemental reactions. She's really reliant on other characters helping her, do her overall damage. Where like you could talk about say like a Shao or a Wanderer, they don't really need, certain elements to, improve their own personal damage. Like in the case of say Wanderer, yeah, he has that ability where he can absorb, elements, and then he get a buff from it. But that's not really something he needs to show he can do a lot of damage. It just adds on to it. And it's the same case with Shao. He doesn't need, elemental reactions to do his overall damage. He can just, it mostly just rely on him boosting his own Nemo damage or plunging damage that really makes him, his own person. Where in Mizuki case, you do need elements for her swirl damage to really mean anything, because she can't swirl by herself. I mean, she kind of can if you're talking about an enemy that might be immune to certain, not immune, but embodied in certain elements. Like if they have electro, pyro, what have you, then you can make it work. But of course, like unless you're just gonna run into say three abyss mages that have cryo, electro, hydro, and pyro, and just swoop in between them by herself with no kind of support, then But when I was looking at the comments when I was seeing people play in the abyss, I saw somewhat mixed reactions. I saw most saying that she is a comfort character and that she does seem to do decent damage. While I see other people say that, oh, she's not that good, she's kind of trash and whatnot. And again, I feel that because of the current abyss is, and that's where people are playing her, and it kind of makes it, hard to really scale her, properly in terms of where she would be best at, instead of just assuming that, well, if she not, putting this particular single target enemy as half health in like 2.5 seconds, then she's just absolute trash. And that's where Mizuki kind of is right now, is that, again, when it comes to single target units, especially in the Abyss in particular, yeah, she's not that good, sadly. She's kind of piss poor, if we're being honest here. And the thing is, though, is that if you were to throw her in the Imaginarium Theater, especially how they tend to just throw multiple enemies on there, she probably would shine pretty well in the Imaginarium Theater. Now, granted, the imaginary theater isn't as hard as the abyss. I mean, depending on how you go about doing the imaginary theater. But if we're just talking about how they just throw groups of enemies at you, at a time, in terms of like boss rushes and whatnot, she could possibly shine in the imaginary theater with no issues. And I'm sure if we're talking about some of the early Abyss chambers we had, these past few versions, that some of them had stuff like two concentrated beasts at the same time, those lava monsters or the, Erm Knights or Beast Tamers or whatnot. She probably would shine in those kid situations because again, it's more than just one enemy you're having to deal with. So it would be, so if we have put her in those kind of situation, we probably would have seen if she really as good as, you know, in terms of group of enemies, than she would be as single target enemies. But as it stands, is she the worst 5 star next to say Dia here? I'm going to say no. Personally, I don't believe so because I think the significant difference between her and Dia in this regard is the fact that Dia's whole kit relies solely on her constellations. Without her constellations, she don't have no personal damage. If you gotten her at C0, the most you're doing with her at C0 is using her as a support slash shielder. That's about it. If you're trying to hope to, do some, big damage with her, you would need to get Constellation 1 or Constellation 1 through 2 to really get the best out of the and that's why she became labeled as one of the worst 5 star characters. It because honestly, did nothing. Honestly, at C0, there's nothing you can do with her. There's literally nothing you can do with her outside of being a support, and that what made the whole kit just seem lackluster in the first place. So when you compare that to Mizuki, she's not tied down to her constellations. She's not. Her personal damage isn't tied down to her constellations. It just she more of a situational kind of DPS Anemo character, if nothing else. Because if you were to say, hey, if you threw Chaska in a group of enemies and whatnot, will she shine? Will she shine? Well, not really. Like, clear that Chaska's whole thing is that she wants a single target she can focus all her ammunition on instead of worrying about, like, say, 6 enemies on screen and then you just firing away. She just want that one single boss and just pow, 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 pow. Where in Mizuki's case, it's clear that, she can't deal with a single target unit and that she needs a group of enemies to really shine from. Now, is that often a good thing? No, not really. Especially how sometimes with the Abyss, you don't really get a single enemy. You get multiple waves of enemies, and they become really, really, really annoying. And again, I'm sure that when the Abyss resets, they're going to throw in a group of enemies to kind of show off how good she can actually be. But as it stands now, there's nothing you can really do with her in the current Abyss. Sure, you can show how she can be in terms of can she actually, manage to beat enemies in the current Abyss, but beyond that, we're just talking about like showing off her grouping capabilities and how she can deal with grouping kind of with a lot of mob enemies. Then I mean, as it stands right now, we did nothing we can really go off of really, especially with this Abyss. Again, if we were talking about something involving like that imaginary theater and whatnot, then we would probably get a little bit more insight about that because again, the imaginary theater have groups of enemies on the fly, so you would probably see more of that through that, if nothing else. But yeah, I really can't say whether she's a bad unit or a good unit in this case. I really can't. In the case of single target enemies, yeah, she's not good. She's really not that good. And I feel that most people is going to focus on that aspect if nothing else. And as I said, a lot of Nemo characters kind of fit specific roles in this regard. Some fit the role of going at being a single target kind of Nemo unit. Most are crowd control characters, and most only shine when that with a group of enemies that they can swirl off of or do and try to do damage with. And I feel that when Mizuki fits in those three roles, it's the last one more so than anything because she's not doing anything in a single target aspect. She doesn't have anything to her kit that where she's pulling group of enemies in. She mostly, as I said, she kind of like a 5-star Sahyu, where basically you just have to be close to the enemy, swirl the elements and whatnot, and then get the most out for damage. Beyond that, that's about it. So yeah, I mean, until we see how she do in the next abyss and whatnot, I can't really say whether she's a bad character or not. I can't really say. Do I think she's the worst 5-star out of the bunch? Again, I can't really say. She's not as bad as Dia, especially at C0, but we just have to wait and see how the next abyss is. If the next abyss it leads like put her like give you a bit of insight how she is with group of enemies, then sure we can then say okay then she's good in one aspect but not another. But if that doesn't really help, and then yeah we can probably case close this whole thing with her and just say yeah she's not that good like at all. But as it stands, for me personally, I can't say she's a bad 5-star based off of the current abyss. I can't say that. I wholeheartedly can't because honestly, if you're talking about all the other Nemo characters trying to do this particular abyss, the only ones that can kind of maybe do it is Shao and Wanderer. And the only thing with that too is that you need them to be either with a good group of teams for it to matter, because a hyper carry is not going to really help any. But you need to beat them with a good group of characters and be on Pacific floor for them to work. But you're just trying to say something like if they good like as well as Chaska is with the two Abyss floors, then no that really Chaska is probably the only well-built Nemo character that can do the two floors of the abyss with no issues in terms of damage. So when it comes to Mizuki, like it's hard to really say that she's bad based off just this current abyss. It really is, and I can't really just go off of that. I can't really go off of her performance solely based off just this current abyss. So again, we just have to wait and see. But yeah, that's all I just wanted to say really in terms of Mizuki, because I saw a lot of people talk about how they feel about her kid, or in terms of those bitch runs and whatnot, and I just want to give my 2 cents about it. So yeah, if you do have Mizuki or you do have your own personal thoughts about her, let me know in the comments. Let me know if you think if the current abyss really, do her justice, or that we should wait for the update of the abyss to really see what she can really do. Like, do you guys think she does okay towards single target unit, or do you guys think that she shines more as a group mob kind of swirl DPS? Again, let me know in the comments. And yeah, I think that's about it. So, I hope you all having a good morning, a lovely afternoon, and a warm and safe evening. And I'll catch you guys later. Peace out.